Amazing heroes discover an unexpected way to save a helpless ostrich from a giant python. Mia's hands shook slightly as she wiped down the last table at the diner. The hum of the fluorescent lights overhead blended with the sounds of clinking cutlery and chatter, but her mind was elsewhere. Bills piled precariously on the kitchen counter, each an increasing weight on her chest. Another late night of cleaning office buildings awaited her, but even the thought of earning a few extra dollars felt overshadowed by her nagging worry about Ethan's future. Could they ever escape this cycle of struggling just to survive? It felt impossible. As the diner emptied, she stole a glance at the clock, and her heart raced. Was it really possible to balance this chaotic life while being a loving mother to Ethan? Questions crowded her mind. What if she wasn't enough? Each day blurred between work and parenting, and behind her brave smile, a tempest raged. Every time Ethan expressed his curiosity, she felt a pang of guilt. Was she limiting him with her financial constraints? Or worse, what if she was failing in her role as a mother? The crisp autumn day had been a beautiful one, albeit too short. When she picked Ethan up from school, his eyes sparkled brighter than the autumn sun. He had found a new friend, Ollie the ostrich. The way he spoke about that quirky bird made her smile despite her heavy heart. For those moments, life felt almost normal. But as she listened to Ethan, she couldn't shake the feeling that joy might be fleeting. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Later that afternoon, as Ethan dashed off to the petting farm, Mia felt an unexpected surge of vulnerability. The tether getting tighter as she listened to the local gossip about the snake sightings in the woods, giant pythons coiling through the trees. Her heart raced again. Chaos danced at the edges of their happiness. What if something happened to Ethan's feathered friend? What if this fantasy he relished became a nightmare? Her phone buzzed with notifications, a barrage from work, family, bills. It all crumbled together, a jigsaw puzzle missing pieces. How could she step in and protect what brought joy to her son while fighting against her own spiraling anxieties? The thought of confronting the python, or even worse, the town's judgment, bore down on her like the weight of 1,000 expectations. The pressure bore through her, intensifying. As shadows stretched across their little home that night, she felt an urge to shield Ethan from her worries. But how could she when her mind struggled with its own demons? What if she failed? What if she couldn't save Ollie, her son's joy, and in turn break the cycle holding them captive? In this moment of darkness, a tempest brewed within her. There was no easy path out, only instinct pulling her toward an inevitable confrontation with the fear lurking outside their door. As she lay awake, caught in the suffocating silence, Mia knew there would be no turning back. Would courage or desperation shape her next steps? The answer danced just out of reach, suffocating her with uncertainty. The battle for Ollie was not just for the ostrich. It was a pivotal moment for both her and Ethan. Would they find the strength to uncover their path, or would they remain trapped in the web of their fears? Mia awoke to the dawn light slicing through the curtains, illuminating the dust particles swirling around in a golden haze. The morning felt eerily quiet. Yet the weight of urgency sat heavy in her chest. Today wasn't just another day. It was the day she would confront the fear that had gripped her family. She stood on the precipice of a choice: ignore the looming danger or step forward into the unknown. As she brewed coffee, her thoughts raced. She replayed last night's worries like an endless loop. Failure was no longer a distant possibility. It was knocking at her door. Ethan's laughter echoed in her mind, a captivating melody she couldn't bear to let slip away. If she didn't act, there would be consequences far greater than merely losing their ostrich friend. She couldn't let fear define her actions any longer. After Ethan woke up, he bounded into the kitchen, his excitement palpable. "Can we see Ollie today, Mom?" The hope in his voice ignited something deep within her. She recognized the look in his eyes, bright, innocent, yet completely unaware of the lurking threats outside their door. How could she protect that joy? The thought of telling him to stay inside crushed her spirit further. Instead, she felt a flicker of something new: determination. "Of course, buddy. After school, how about we head over to the petting farm right away?" she offered, feeling a newfound strength surge through her. Ethan beamed, his smile illuminating the dim corners of their small kitchen. As he ate his breakfast, Mia began to concoct a plan. She had read about the giant pythons, how they slithered through the forests, but she was more than just a terrified mother now. She was going to be an ally for her son, a protector. As the day progressed, Mia found herself navigating through her usual routine at the diner with an odd clarity. Her mind was sharp, each interaction fueled by a desire to escape the weight she had long carried. She worked efficiently, providing customers with smiles and fresh coffee while also calculating how she would approach the snake situation. What tools would she need? Who could she talk to? By the time her shift ended, there was a sense of purpose coursing through her veins. Preparing dinner at home, she pulled out her laptop and started researching pythons and how to spot them. She couldn't rely on lucky circumstances to guide her. She had to be proactive. Each page she scrolled brought her one step closer to ensuring Ethan would hold on to his joy, but it also struck at the foundations of her own insecurities. That evening, Mia confided her thoughts to Ethan as they walked to the petting farm. She pointed out the trees and the wide-open fields, describing the dangers while sounding calm, even as panic clawed at her throat. "We need to be careful. Sometimes there are sneaky things in the woods." Ethan listened intently, and a flicker of awareness shone in his eyes. "Like Ollie, who hides behind the trees?" he asked. A part of her ached. He should be able to enjoy the world with untainted eyes, free of worry. Yet the reality was undeniable. In order for both of them to flourish, they needed to confront those fears. When they finally reached the petting farm, anticipation bubbled inside her, fueled by a sense of urgency. The moment they arrived, Ethan burst away, with joy radiant as he called out for Ollie. Mia felt herself torn, between stepping into the shelter of the farm and confronting the woods where the snake had been sighted. As she scanned the area, a figure caught her eye: Mr. Thompson, the groundskeeper, casually tossing feed to the animals. Gathering her courage, Mia approached him, urgency rippling beneath her skin. "Mr. Thompson," she began, her voice steady yet urgent, "I need to talk to you about the snakes." There, amidst the cries and laughter, she found her footing, embracing the confrontation head-on. But as Mr. Thompson glanced toward the tree line, an unexpected shadow flickered, a reminder that the battle was only just beginning. The path before her narrowed, and the question echoed: was she ready to face the slithering danger lurking at the edge of their happiness? Mia stood there, heart racing, as the weight of her inquiry hung in the air between them. Mr. Thompson's brow furrowed slightly, a mixture of concern and curiosity evident in his expression. He glanced back toward the tree line, assessing the situation as if it were a dangerous game of chess. "What do you know about the snakes, Mrs. Thompson?" he finally asked, crossing his arms. The authority in his voice rattled her for a moment, but she stood firm. "I've been researching the pythons recently. I'm worried about them coming close to the farm, especially with Ethan running around. We need a plan, something more than just warnings," she said, her voice unexpectedly resolute. Mr. Thompson regarded her with a new level of respect. "The staff's been discussing it, a couple sightings over the past week. It's unsettling. We need a way to keep the animals safe, and the families that come here. But most importantly, we need to give the kids peace of mind." Suddenly, Mia felt a rush of responsibility. It was no longer just about protecting her son's joy. It was about preserving the sanctuary of innocence for all the children who visited. Out of nowhere, an idea sparked within her, a community safety initiative. What if we organized an informational session? Mia suggested, her mind racing. We could invite parents and offer workshops on how to recognize danger in the wild, empower them instead of just letting them cower in fear. Mr. Thompson nodded slowly, considering her proposal. That's not a bad idea. We could discuss prevention measures, maybe even have some volunteers help patrol the perimeter for the snakes with all-natural deterrents. You'd be surprised at how supportive the community can be if you give them a reason to feel involved. Mia could feel the excitement building inside her. She needed to act, not only for Ethan, but for every child who needed reassurance. I could coordinate the sessions, gather volunteers, even bring in someone who specializes in snake behavior. Mr. Thompson extended a hand to her. Let's meet tomorrow. I'll help you with the logistics, and we'll get this moving quickly. The thrill of collaboration ignited something deep within Mia. She felt a sense of purpose wrapped around her like a warm blanket. For the first time in a long while, she was no longer merely reacting to fear, she was taking charge. That evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Mia sat by the window wrapping her mind around the plans, making lists, jotting down contacts. Each note she penned filled her with a sense of agency. No longer just a mother fearing for her child, she was stepping into the role of a community leader, someone who could make tangible changes. Still, as she glanced out toward the woods, shadows danced unsettlingly on the tree line. The prospect of facing the unknown still lingered, adding an edge to her newfound ambition. She couldn't forget about the pythons, and if she was going to confront that danger, she would need a deeper understanding of the situation she was plunging into. That yearning for knowledge, understanding what they were up against, drove her back to her laptop late into the night. Despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins, her mind faltered. She needed to know how to forego fear altogether. If there was to be a community meeting, what expertise did she truly have? What if she couldn't lead? As her fingers danced across the keys, she stumbled upon an online course about wildlife safety and conservation. Instinctively, she signed up, recognizing that her journey of growth would not only be about protecting Ethan, but reshaping her identity. But just as she settled into her decision, another glaring worry struck her. What if the danger she felt was only the... A notification pinged on her phone. It was an email that glared at her with a bold subject line, "Urgent, recent python sightings." Each word felt like an echo of all her fears surfacing again. A decision lurked in the shadows. Was she truly ready to face whatever those sightings implied? The battle was shaping up to be more formidable than she'd anticipated, and she understood one thing: this new path would demand everything she had. Mia awoke the next morning with a sense of urgency coursing through her veins, each pulse a reminder of the challenge that lay ahead. She had committed herself to a path not just of personal growth, but of community empowerment, a venture that required the courage she had only recently begun to discover. Flashes of anxiety flickered in her mind about the urgent email, yet they didn't render her powerless. If anything, they propelled her toward action. As she prepared for her meeting with Mr. Thompson, Mia found herself meticulously organizing her thoughts rather than the usual frenzied worry. Each idea felt like a battle plan, one she was strategically assembling to win against the unknown that lurked beyond the familiar spaces of her world. She focused on the objectives: gather information, engage the community, train for safety. That clarity inspired a fierce determination. The drive to the farm felt different today. It was no longer a mundane commute, but the beginning of a mission. She noticed the details around her: the blooming flowers alongside the road, the chirping of the morning birds, as though the world outside had lent her its beauty for courage. Arriving at the farm, she found Mr. Thompson waiting, arms crossed, ready for a serious discussion. She felt the weight of their shared responsibility press upon her, invigorating her resolve. "Mia, glad you're here," he said, his tone conveying both seriousness and reassurance. "We need to act quickly with these sightings. The community relies on us to keep their kids safe."
I've thought a lot about it, Mia replied, excitement and determination blending in her voice. I believe we can create an informational workshop that empowers families, giving them strategies to handle wilderness encounters, especially with snakes. I'm already looking into local experts who can help. Excellent, he nodded, impressed with her enthusiasm. What shall we include? Organization marked Mia's thoughts now. We should focus on education about the pythons, how to identify them, how to react during encounters, and practical demonstrations on safer outdoor practices. Additionally, it might be helpful to teach parents how to ease their children's fears about the wildlife. Agreed, Mr. Thompson said, leaning forward as if being swept into her passion. As they dove deeper into planning, Mia felt a rush of confidence. This collaboration was a dance, expertly led by her initiative. And yet, beneath the surface, flickers of doubt nudged at her. Emergency preparedness against a python's threat felt all-consuming, and she questioned if she was truly
capable of carrying this burden. Could her voice resonate with enough authority to guide her community? The distraction of self-doubt haunted her as she navigated the logistics. Would families genuinely heed the advice she would impart? Did her grasp of safety protocols truly equip her to lead others through their fears? Deep in thought, Mia suddenly recalled the online course she'd signed up for. A deep breath steadied her, reminding her that growth doesn't happen without confronting discomfort head-on. It wasn't just about pythons. It was about the scars of her past, about the shadows she had lived with despite them. Let's set a date for the workshop, she said with renewed determination, surprising even herself with the boldness of her words. The sooner we address this, the better. We can use the urgency of the recent sightings to spur action. Then let's make it happen, Mr. Thompson replied, clearly impressed. But the moment of satisfaction didn't last. Glancing briefly out at the tree line, fear intertwined with anticipation. Her decision to forge ahead would force her to confront both her fears and the lurking threat. What awaited beyond her carefully constructed strategies? Would they prove enough to safeguard not just her son, but the entire community? As Mia returned home, the details of the workshop swirling in her mind, a dark yet potent question fueled her journey. What if confronting the pythons became an encounter with her own resilience? That evening, she unfolded a map of the nearby wilderness, the shadows of the trees full of hidden dangers. A chill ran through her. There was so much she didn't yet understand, so much left to learn before the session could become a reality. Her resolve solidified. It was time to equip herself with knowledge that could fortify her, about pythons, the natural environment, but more importantly, about herself. Just as she set her sights on the course materials again, another notification bloomed in her inbox. The subject line was stark. Advisory, python movements intensifying. Her pulse quickened as a new realization settled thickly over her mind. Sometimes, confronting danger means facing not just the external threats, but also the lurking remnants of one's own insecurities. What steps might she take to challenge these newfound revelations? The next move weighed heavily on her, and she felt the stakes rising alongside her ambitions. Mia sat at her kitchen table, papers strewn across the surface like the chaotic thoughts buzzing in her mind. Each solution she'd proposed felt accompanied by an avalanche of questions. The uncertainty of whether she was truly ready to lead loomed larger than ever. The notification about the python movements intensified her anxiety. It was no longer just a matter of community safety. It was a profound personal challenge, a confrontation with the fragile contours of her own courage. She clicked on the online course she had nearly forgotten amidst the whirlwind of her new responsibilities. The course promised vital information about wildlife encounters, but also carried within it the possibility of empowering herself beyond any role she had previously inhabited. As she scrolled through the modules, a mixture of excitement and trepidation settled in her chest. Could these lessons actually aid in her mission? Mia knew she had to try. Determined, she immersed herself in the course, jotting down notes and breathing deeply to soothe the creeping doubt. Hours slipped away as she learned about python behaviors and effective community engagement techniques. The more she absorbed, the clearer her vision became. She envisioned families in her community coming together, learning to navigate the wilderness not just with caution, but with knowledge and confidence. However, her mind kept drifting back to a specific lesson about fear management. The instructor spoke about fear as a powerful ally, one that could sharpen instincts and enhance focus when harnessed. But what about the fear that paralyzed her? Could she transform that into resilience? That night, as darkness enveloped her home, the fear around her new mission loomed and morphed into something more tangible. Mia realized that in her quest to empower others, she must also confront her own insecurities. It was a dual journey, one that required navigating external threats while diving into the internal landscape of her psyche. She shared her reflections with Sam, her son, who, oblivious to the weight of her worries, exuded his usual spontaneity. "Mom, can we go on a hike tomorrow? I want to explore more," he chimed with youthful exuberance. Mia's heart raced. The idea of heading outside, a place where danger could lurk just beyond the next bend, both frightened and excited her. "Sure, but let's prepare," she said, summoning all the confidence she felt slipping away. "We need to learn how to be safe out there, too. How about we turn it into an adventure?" That night, they spread out their maps on the living room floor. As Sam pointed to various trails, Mia emphasized her new knowledge of the local wildlife, explaining the signs they might encounter, what pythons looked like, how to stay safe, and ways to respect nature's boundaries. Her words, steady and firm, drowned out the whispers of doubt that had previously haunted her. In the midst of mapping their hike, Mia caught a glimpse of power in her narrative. This workshop wouldn't be merely a presentation. It would be a shared journey, a multifaceted exploration of courage and knowledge, both for her and the families who would participate. But towards the end of the night, as they prepared to sleep, another notification pinged through her phone. "Local python sighting, family emergency." Reading the words, a combined sense of urgency and determination surged within her. Her mission took on a pressing quality, transforming it from a simple workshop to a critical intervention. She needed to face this fear now, not later. Suddenly, a question loomed larger than all the others. Would her newfound authority help rescue someone in peril, or would it expose her own vulnerabilities? The workshop was now something greater, an urgent response to a community that needed to feel safer. Would she rise to meet this moment? Or would doubt snatch joy from the experience? The stakes were higher than ever. Tomorrow's hike held the promise of discovery, but with it came the fear of what awaited out in the wilderness. Would Mia confront not only the pythons lurking in the woods, but also the deeper, more insidious fears hidden within her? It was time to face the reality of her decisions, and the moment of truth was approaching fast. Mia's alarm jolted her from restless sleep, the digital clock blinking 6 a.m. in stark clarity. As she reached for her phone, the notification from the night before echoed in her mind. The urgency of that message propelled her out of bed. She had a mission, and every moment counted. The morning light splashed against the kitchen walls, casting a warm hue that contrasted sharply with the knot of anxiety swirling in her stomach. Sam bounded into the room, his energy electrifying. "Mom, are we going on our hike?" His enthusiasm was infectious, temporarily diluting her apprehensions. "Absolutely," she replied, forcing a smile. She wanted to share in his excitement, but the looming questions about what awaited them in the woods pressed heavily on her. As they prepared, she felt a surge of responsibility wash over her. This wasn't just a hike, it was an opportunity to turn fear into empowerment. When they finally set off, every rustle of leaves and distant bird calls sent shivers down her spine. The wilderness felt alive, vibrant, yet intimidating. Each step was both an exploration and a confrontation with her personal demons. She couldn't afford to let fear control her. She needed to guide Sam, to instill confidence in him, mirroring the newfound command she hoped to feel within herself. As they traversed the path, Mia pointed out various plants and animal tracks. She was applying her knowledge. "Look, Sam, that's a raccoon track," she explained, trying to ground herself with factual information. Sam beamed, his eyes wide.
This was their adventure, and she was eager to make it memorable. But curiosity and apprehension gnawed at her. Every shadow could conceal a threat. The known dangers of pythons now sat heavy on her mind. The knowledge she'd acquired felt simultaneously empowering and paralyzing. Could she react appropriately if they were to encounter one? Should she prepare Sam for a fear she herself was battling? Moments later, they paused at a small clearing. Mia's heart raced as she spotted what she believed to be a python shed skin nearby. Her stomach clenched at the sight. Sam, blissfully unaware, knelt down to examine it, and Mia hesitated. Something shifted within her. She could either fall back into fear or step into the role of educator and protector. "Sam, that's an example of a snake shedding its skin, growing and changing," she said, her tone steady despite the tremor she felt inside. The small, contained moment of fear morphed into a teaching opportunity.
She was transforming her anxiety into an asset, a lesson in resilience. Yet, as they stood in that serene space, a faint rustle reached her ears. Mia's instincts flared, her heart pounding as she tried to remain calm. She leaned closer to Sam, whispering, "Let's be quiet for a moment. We might have a visitor." The tension was palpable, their breath held as they listened closely. Then, suddenly, a massive shape slithered into view. A python, glistening in the sunlight, its scales reflecting the light like a predator poised to strike. It was mesmerizing and terrifying. Mia's mind raced, thrill and panic jostling for supremacy. She thought of the course modules, all the preparation she had done, and the stories she had practiced sharing with Sam and the community. This was it. Would she allow fear to consume her, or would she confront this face of danger and use it as a springboard for growth? The moment felt pivotal, an intersection between professional development and the personal bravery she so desperately sought. As the snake moved cautiously through the underbrush, Mia realized something essential. This was not merely about confronting external dangers, but about claiming her strength as an individual. In that surreal moment, as the python drew closer, Mia faced her own vulnerability head-on, prepared to stand tall not just for her son, but for herself. Was she ready to apply everything she learned, or would it all crumble under pressure? As the python's intent gaze locked onto her, she felt the weight of her decisions, knowing that beyond this pivotal encounter lay the question of whether she could save not only an ostrich, but the integrity of her newfound self. With the python inching closer, the stakes had never been so high. Would she harness her knowledge to turn the situation in their favor, or would the stakes of her fears push her back into a corner? The outcome hung in the balance, and one thought surged forward. The moment of truth had arrived. As the python silently inched forward, Mia's breath caught in her throat. The creature's scales shimmered, a vivid embodiment of nature's primal power. Yet, in her heart, Mia clung to every ounce of training she carried. This was her moment, and inalienably, it was about more than survival. It was a test of her growth, a crucible for her courage. Mia stepped subtly in front of Sam, instinctively shielding him from the encroaching python while evaluating her options. The danger was palpable, but so too was her determination. Now she could no longer afford to hesitate. Every lesson learned would have to manifest into action. Instinct urged her to flee, yet her mind raced with knowledge that whispered of strategy and solutions. "Stay behind me, Sam," she whispered, grounding her voice in the calmness she wished to encompass. Despite Sam's eyes wide with wonder and fear, he instinctively leaned closer, seeking the reassurance emanating from her posture. What had she learned? She remembered the first animals can sense fear. Every ounce of anxiety clawing up her throat was a potential cue for the python to assert its dominance, to act on its instincts. The newfound confidence she had nurtured over the past weeks now demanded usage. Slowly, she loaded her mind with images of the non-violent methods taught in her courses. Keeping her movements fluid, she bent down to gather a handful of stones, setting them discreetly behind her. It wasn't offensive aggression, but a tactic of distraction, a tool to divert the python's attention. In that split-second embrace of clarity, she established a plan. If I can just redirect it, maybe we can get past. Maybe. The rumble of adrenaline continued to surge through her, fueling her resolve, and she knew she had to act before the creature grew bored or threatened. Time slowed. The python was merely feet away, its tongue flicked out, tasting the air with an uncanny curiosity, an inspector of fear. Mia straightened, gathering strength, her instincts simultaneously quaking with trepidation and igniting with braveness. This was about elevating her son's experience, but more than that, it was about validating her own evolution. With a swift determination, Mia hurled one of the stones away from them, the sound breaking the taut silence of the forest like a shot. The python paused, its head snapping toward the noise, intrigued. "Now, Sam," she commanded, her voice sharper than she expected. They pivoted, beginning a gradual retreat deep into the shaded woods, into the realm she had been so scared to confront. The python, still captivated by the distraction, halted its pursuit, and for the first time, Mia felt the tendrils of victory creeping into her veins. She was directing the course of events, not entirely in control, certainly, but not coward either. Adrenaline coursing through her, she dared to glance back at Sam, whose eyes reflected not fear, but astonishment. "That was awesome, Mom," he beamed, his admiration punctuating the moment. Her heart swelled, fueled by pride and recollection that her response had been intentional. Together, they continued moving through the brush, but now Mia's resolve crystallized into an unwavering flame. She was transforming. Her isolation was receding in the wake of her newfound strength, not just as a protector for Sam, but as an individual determined to rise above personal constraints. However, the forest was vast and teeming with life. Even a reassured heart could easily find itself at the precipice again. Just then, in that quiet aftermath of their thrilling skirmish, a chilling thought sparked a worry that had lurked below her triumph. What would happen when they ventured deeper into the woods? If a python could emerge so unexpectedly, what other surprises lay ahead, ready to unearth her vulnerabilities? With the memory of the encounter still vibrant, Mia's mind raced to reassess the knowledge she had been absorbing. It hit her. Their adventure might very well reveal further unexpected challenges. Each problem would require a balance of knowledge, decisiveness, and exploration of her limits. The path stretched deep into the wilderness, more unpredictable than ever. The lesson she had to learn had just begun. "Mom?" Sam's voice broke her reverie, earnestness lacing his words. "Let's see what else we can discover," she replied. But as they moved forward, the shadows around them began to shift, their implications lingering ominously in the air. Would the next encounter push even further against her expanding boundaries? Mia felt the tense charge of unanswered questions, the pulse of adventure piling high as they journeyed deeper, not just into the woods, but into the heart of what awaited them. The further they ventured into the woods, the more the atmosphere thickened with uncertainty and hidden potential. Mia felt the shift in energy, a subtle but persistent undertow that hinted at both danger and discovery. The thrill from their previous encounter began to fade, replaced by a gnawing anxiety that peeled back the layers of her newfound courage. Each rustle of leaves held the weight of the unknown, challenging her resolve to embrace her environment rather than retreat into her past fears. "Mom, do you think we'll see more snakes?" Sam asked, his curiosity a blend of excitement and trepidation. Mia's pulse quickened. The thought of another snake crossed her mind, but more than that, it pressed her to consider the unpredictability of their journey. "Let's keep our eyes peeled," she replied, trying to cloak her apprehension in a brave smile. Yet beneath her confidence was a creeping doubt. Was she really prepared for whatever lay ahead? Even the idea of encountering more wildlife paraded a myriad of challenges she hadn't fully confronted yet. With every step, Mia focused on her surroundings. The forest was a cacophony of sounds, birds chirping high above, and the rustling of creatures hidden in the underbrush.
Each noise became a reminder that she was just one part of a much larger ecosystem. Feeling small yet significant, she shifted her perspective, curious about the lessons nature had yet to unveil. Her mind began to spin with new possibilities. What new strategies would she need to adapt, not just in survival, but in nurturing her connection with Sam? Then, out of the corner of her eye, she spotted movement, a flicker of brown, almost blending into the Earth's canvas. A large bird, an ostrich, stood awkwardly beneath a thicket, its long neck craned as if peering at the world with trepidation. Her heart raced. It was magnificent, but also vulnerable, out of place in the dense undergrowth. "Look, Sam," she whispered, pointing, "an ostrich!" They crept closer, their breaths quieting in awe. However, the stillness was shattered by an unsettling rustling nearby. It was a sound too familiar, deeply ingrained in Mia's mind. In the blink of an eye, the python emerged once again, drawn by the seemingly easy prey. Mia felt her heartbeat thunder in her ears. The very realization that they could be witnesses to yet another confrontation paralyzed her momentarily. But that hesitation
was brief. Instinct kicked in. Sam stood frozen, his eyes wide in disbelief. "Mom, what do we do?" His voice was tinged with fear, but also an undercurrent of urgency. Mia battled with her impulse to shield Sam from the reality unfolding before them. She had to act. Hurling a distraction tactic felt dangerously close to their last encounter, but now it felt intertwined with a deeper responsibility, a moral dilemma coursing through her mind. If their presence could shift the outcome for the ostrich, they had to try. "We have to help it," she said firmly, but then questioned if she had truly understood the weight of that statement. Each instant demanded both courage and caution. "Stay close to me," she ordered, her tone bearing the authority of a warrior, yet trembling beneath a veneer of confidence. She felt the burning need to elevate her courage, to not only protect Sam, but to cherish the strength she had cultivated through the trials they had faced. Mia crouched down, silently contemplating her next move. She scanned the grounds, considering natural elements around them. The stones she had deftly used before could serve her again. This time, she needed a plan that balanced distraction with protection. "Sam, find anything nearby that you can throw," she directed, encouraging his participation while stoking the flames of resilience within both of them. As he scouted ahead for anything useful, Mia gathered her wits, each breath steadying her racing heart. In this moment of urgency, she questioned her ability to confront the python, a formidable creature that stood as a reflection of her own fears. What if she faltered, and what would that mean for her son? Yet, in navigating through her uncertainties, she realized that addressing this challenge was an essential aspect of her evolution. "Ready?" she called softly, determination coursing through every part of her. But as Sam's hopeful face turned toward her, Mia felt a weighty question. Was this battle not just a physical one, but a deeper struggle against her own limitations? The tension in the air ignited as they prepared to engage, not just with a predator, but with the fears that tethered Mia. Could she rise, not just as a protector, but as an example of courage for Sam to emulate? With adrenaline surging, she steadied herself. The lesson that awaited could redefine everything for them both. But as the python slithered closer, the stakes were higher than ever before. Would she act in time, or would the wild remind her of how fragile her aspirations truly were? Mia's breath hitched in her throat as she watched the python advance, its scales glistening under the dappled sunlight filtering through the trees. A visceral fear gripped her, a crushing weight that threatened to suffocate the determination she had summoned. Yet, as she glanced over at Sam, trembling yet still yearning for her guidance, something flickered within her. A recognition of inner strength she had not fully acknowledged before. "Now," she whispered, voicing the command that hung in the air between them. As Sam hurled a rock toward the python, the creature paused, its forked tongue flicking in agitation. For that fleeting moment, the snake's attention shifted from the ostrich to the unexpected threat. Mia seized this opportunity, her mind racing.
This was not just about saving a bird. It was about exerting agency in a chaotic world that often felt beyond her control. "Keep throwing things," she urged Sam, feeling a rush of adrenaline surge through her limbs. The sight of the ostrich, still frozen and bewildered, galvanized her resolve. Failure was not an option. Failure meant deepening the void of fear that had often haunted her in moments of crisis. She felt a bond forming between her and the bird, both vulnerable in their circumstances, destined to either rise together or fall apart. Mia scrambled towards a nearby downed branch, its rough surface solid in her grasp. It was a tool, a weapon of sorts, and she felt her intentions crystallizing. Following instinct more than strategy, she rushed forward a few paces, positioning herself in front of the ostrich. "Come on," she shouted, her voice cracking but resolute, as she waved the branch toward the python. "Get away from it!" It was a declaration, a mantra against the trepidation that had cornered her for so long. To her astonishment, the python, caught in the ferocity of a moment it did not expect, withdrew slightly. Mia's heart raced, not just from fear, but from an awakening that reverberated within her. She was not only protecting Sam, but also stepping into her power, a fortifying shift. "Move, Sam, now!" She continued to throw rocks, garnering increased momentum as each sound reverberated against the forest backdrop. The more she acted, the more a multicolored tapestry of courage unraveled within her, filling the void that once dictated her responses. Sam, emboldened by her sudden transformation, collected his strength and joined her. Together, they became an unexpected pair of protectors, using the stones and branches to divert the snake's attention away from the frightened ostrich. Each throw became a statement, each movement a testament to resilience. Suddenly, the python recoiled, its determination faltering against an unexpected onslaught. With a decisive flick of its body, it slithered back into the shadows of the thicket, overwhelmed by the persistent distraction. For Mia, this moment marked a departure. She was no longer the terrified mother overshadowed by anxiety, but a warrior navigating through the unpredictable terrain of motherhood and self-discovery. The ostrich, confused yet released from the threat, took a hesitant step back. Just then, it turned and moved away, wings fluttering slightly, a glimmer of thanks shining in its wide eyes. Mia watched it disappear into the undergrowth, a tangible sense of victory buoying her spirit. "Did we do it?" Sam exclaimed, with a mixture of disbelief and hope plastered across his face. Mia knelt next to him, panting, the weight of adrenaline still coursing through her veins. They had faced a predator, not without fear, but with a resolve that transcended that fear. "We did," she affirmed, the taste of triumph, not just sweet, but empowering. Yet deep down, Mia felt the undercurrent of a lingering question. Had they truly conquered the threat, or had they merely skirted around the edges of an even larger challenge that lay ahead? This wilderness was teeming with uncertainties, much like her evolving relationship with Sam. How could she ensure that this experience did not become a mere anomaly, but part of a larger tapestry of growth? As they caught their breath, she realized there were lessons still to learn, about courage, about being present, and about embracing the unexpected way of life around them. They were not merely survivors in the woods, they were allies in a world that constantly demanded more. With renewed conviction, Mia took Sam's hand, their fingers intertwining as she led him further along the path, past the remnants of chaos. But with each step, the question loomed larger. How would she navigate the next confrontation that awaited them, not only in the woods, but within herself? The rustling leaves ahead seemed to whisper the answer, and Mia felt a familiar thrill of anxiety creeping back, a reminder that this journey was just beginning. In their quest for survival, what deeper revelations awaited? Mia awoke the following morning, sunlight pouring through the window, invigorating her spirit. The prior day's encounter still reverberated within her. Every decision she had made, every action she had taken, reinforced the transformation she had undergone. She had not only saved the ostrich, she had rediscovered her capacity for courage and leadership.
As she prepared breakfast with Sam, she caught a glimpse of the budding confidence mirrored back at her through his curious gaze. "Can we go back to the woods today, Mom?" he asked eagerly, his spirit unburdened by fear. In that moment, a profound realization washed over her. The journey was no longer just about confronting threats. It was about creating an environment where both she and her son could thrive without the shroud of anxiety clouding their lives. "Absolutely," she responded, her voice stronger than it had ever been. "But this time, we're going prepared." Diving into the logistical side of their adventure, Mia gathered their gear, not just the usual provisions, but tools that would empower both of them. She packed a first aid kit, a field guide on local wildlife, and their trusty map, crammed with notes from her research. Every item she included represented another facet of her growth, tangible proof of her commitment to taking control. Once at the petting farm, anticipation danced in the air. There was an empowerment coursing through her that felt electric, fueled by purpose. "Mr. Thompson," she called as they strolled towards the entrance, "I wanted to update you about yesterday. We faced the python together, and I think we can use our experiences to inform the community." Mr. Thompson turned, intrigued, welcoming the spark of her newfound initiative. "What do you mean?" asked, eyebrows raised. "I've realized that the community needs to understand not only the dangers out there, but also how to navigate them. It's not just about safety, it's about empowerment. I'd love to integrate our encounter into the upcoming workshop," Mia proposed confidently. "That's a brilliant idea," he agreed, admiration gleaming in his eyes. "Stories connect us. Let's make sure everyone feels prepared for whatever might come their way." With Mr. Thompson's support, Mia felt affirmation in her actions. She rallied the community, organizing a workshop where families could engage in discussions about wildlife safety while sharing their own stories. The meeting promised to be a collaboration of experiences, transforming fear into a shared narrative of resilience and understanding. As the workshop approached, Mia immersed herself in preparation. Her evenings were spent fostering connections within the community and creating educational materials. With each task accomplished, her confidence solidified. It no longer felt like a burden. This was progress, an evolution of herself, both as a protective mother and a responsible community member. The day of the workshop dawned bright and bustling with potential. Families filed in, each person's face a tapestry of apprehension and eagerness. As Mia stood at the front of the community center, her heart raced, but it was filled with something far more significant than fear: purpose. She began to share her journey, the encounter with the python, and how it taught her to address their fears and take proactive measures. "What I realized," she said, her voice steady and resonant, "is that facing fears isn't done alone, it's done together. We can empower our children, our families, to not just exist in nature, but to thrive in it." Applause erupted, mingling with words of gratitude and admiration. Parents began to step forward, sharing their own stories of encounters and fears. Each narrative contributed to the collective experience, weaving a safety net for everyone present. In that swirl of shared thoughts, Mia felt a deep sense of fulfillment. Through her journey, she had gone from a timid worker overwhelmed by life's burdens to a leader with a defined purpose. She had taken command not only of her fears, but of the narrative of her and her son's lives. By dusk, the workshop was a success, and Mia soared beside her, each chuckle and playful nudge reflecting a bond fortified through adversity. As they left, Mia felt a warm glow of achievement radiating from within. She turned to Sam and said, "You know, we did more than just talk about the pythons today. We showed everyone that we can face anything together." "Yeah, we're a team," Sam shouted, his exuberance launching his spirit higher. At that moment, Mia understood that acknowledgement of her emotional and intellectual growth was the greatest victory of all. She had learned how to advocate for herself and protect her loved ones not through avoidance, but through engagement. With a heart full of hope and resolve, Mia knew she could trust herself to navigate the complexities of life ahead. Each challenge would be met with courage,
propelled by the certainty of her evolution. The challenges might persist, but she was ready. Now, she felt equipped not just to survive, but to thrive. As she walked hand in hand with Sam, the territorial call of an ostrich echoed through the distance. It wasn't just a reminder of their past, it was an embodiment of their future. A reminder that they would always safeguard the joy in their lives. If you're inspired by Mia's journey of transformation and the importance of facing fears, you need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support for stories that celebrate personal growth. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and share instantly with at least 5 friends who need the motivation this story brought to you. Comment below your reactions and theories. Let's keep the conversation alive. Don't wait even one more second to support a channel dedicated to inspiring tales of overcoming adversity.